I think open learning is the future, and the Learning Zone is going to provide a big part of that.
This is BBC Two with the Learning Zone. And now, as we move on through the early hours of this Monday morning, it's time to get down to business and work. And today you can see the final 2 repeat programmes aimed at those who run or work in small and medium-sized businesses. In October, we'll be expanding our business and training service to 5 days a week. Find out more about these programmes by calling the number at the end of the programme. But first this morning, in the Small Business Programme, Liz Barclay finds out how business managers learn from their mistakes and get help and advice. There's all sorts of information out there, some of it useful, some of it less so. But where and how do you find the right help at the right time?
Hello, I'm Liz Barclay and welcome to the last in this series of the Small Business Programme. Over the past 20 weeks we've featured a range of small to medium-sized enterprises around the country. At Flowcrete, the industrial flooring company in Cheshire, they've been going through a period of change. Anyone involved in the construction industry has to stay at the cutting edge of technology, and from being a small family-run business, they've expanded rapidly, bought out another flooring company and moved into the international market. Magna Technology, the bicycle importers and distributors near Warrington, has also been moving into its next phase. Roy Jones and John Crayford spotted a business opportunity when John noticed a brand of bike on sale in America, which was unknown in the UK. Now persistence has finally paid off, and they've landed the big contract to supply Magna bikes to Toys R Us. Their ambition is that Magna will be as much a household name as any other major player in the bicycle world. And business is still booming down on the farm. At Amerton Working Farm in Staffordshire, Anne Williams has successfully diversified into the tourist industry. The tea room uses the farm's own produce and cakes and pies from the bakery. At Alan Sharp and Sons, the family-run catering butchers near Glasgow, they've been getting to grips with the miles of legislation involved in the food industry and facing up to the ever-increasing challenges of the meat and livestock industry in particular. California Cake and Cookie, also in Glasgow, they've been looking at new ways of staying ahead of the competition, and they've been treading the careful path that all small businesses have to tread when dealing with smaller customers and with the big supermarket chains. In Brighton, at Graphic Express, the sign makers, there were some initial worries about becoming a limited company, but after thinking it through, Steve and Ruben decided that the short-term financial drawbacks were worth it because of the longer-term benefits. But the jury's still out on whether or not to franchise the business. And after a long and frustrating search, Fiona Shoop finally took the Help Wanted sign out of the window when she recruited a reliable assistant to help out in her giftware shop in Lymington. Today we'll be finding out what mistakes they've made over the years and what they've learned from them. And advice, both amateur and professional, is never in short supply, so how do you make it work best for you? When you're running a business, you're almost bound to make a few mistakes along the way. The difference between success and failure is how you deal with those mistakes and whether any lessons are learned. The businesses we've featured in the past 20 weeks have made a few of their own, but only some of them are broadcastable.
Well, the obvious one's going into business. Biggest mistake is there haven't been any massively big mistakes. The worst mistake is being too slack with credit that we've made. That's easily the worst mistake. Letting people have too much credit, letting them get away with it, and you do it, you get led down that path, and it's just a self-perpetuating thing that can lead you into borrowing more money, and you end up being someone else's bank.
Taking on wrong people and then having to get rid of those people has been not pleasant, and that has been my mistake because I haven't equipped myself with the right training to be able to assess people. I think that's been some major mistakes I've made in the past.
Even asking questions like, did I make a mistake at the end of the day, is not as straightforward as it might appear. And more useful is, what can I learn from that experience and what might I do differently in the future? And I guess that successful entrepreneurs and small business people are doing that more than people who fall over and say, oh, that's it, I've hurt my knees, I'm not going to do that again. I wasn't cut out for being a business person or whatever.
We suffered a burglary once from a warehouse in Manchester. Where really we should have been paying more attention to detail and exactly where we were storing our goods. People knocked a hole in the side of the warehouse and they stole 100 bicycles from us. It actually went over a railway line. So everybody in Manchester, I think, had a Magna bike for nearly for 2 weeks. But that was one of the real turning points of the business. That was a few years ago, but that was a huge loss for us at the time, several £1,000s.
Weren't you insured?
No, I mean, this is paying attention to detail. We had a wrangle with a guy in Manchester over whether goods were insured, and he said they were. But eventually, when it came down to the crunch and he got burgled, they weren't insured. The goods weren't insured. We suffered a heavy loss, and that was a really testing time then, because we weren't that well funded anyway. And I think because when we went forward from that, we went from strength to strength. Then we didn't make any more bad errors of judgment. I think that was a real turning point in the business.
I tried to pick us up the day after we'd had the theft, and I said, right, it's happened, there's nothing we can do about crying over spilt milk. And I went to turn the radio on and the radio was gone again, and I was like a double thump, if you like. We've laughed about it in the meantime, but that was the day I thought, forget this, motor trade, here I come. And it's the times like that you look back on that I think could have been a real turning point, because it was drastic, really.
I think there are certain things you do, with the benefit of hindsight, you think, well, maybe I should have known. I think it's when mistakes are repeated. If you, for instance, you go into a situation where you commit all your resources longer term, and then something happens to you, you recover and then you do the same thing again, then you're not learning from them.
I don't know that you can actually say that there's a worst mistake. It's just how you look at things. I mean, you've got to look at it in certain states where you've got one piece of wood to do a job, and if you cut it to the wrong length, then that's the whole thing. That's a disaster. That's a disaster today. I mean, it might not be a disaster in the great scheme of things. I suppose we've been very lucky. You've learned from your mistakes, and they really haven't been so enormous as to either close the building, close the company, hurt either of us, do any long-term damage.
The most notable mistakes I made was when we had a new product that we wanted to introduce to the marketplace, and we introduced it at a food exhibition. And within a matter of hours, one of our major customers, the buyer, came on the stand and looked at this new product and said, what's this? And I said, it's a new product. Whereupon the face changed and I got a very irate question, why have I not seen this before? Why must I wait until I come to an exhibition to see your new product? I should have been told about this. And the buyer was quite right. Our major customer, one of our major customers, should have been told about this prior to the exhibition, because the opportunity of selling to that customer was fundamentally important to the company. I made a mistake, and I haven't done it since.
Be as honest as you can with people and tell them the truth. Whether it's good or bad, if you make a mistake, then you admit to that and say, look, I'll get it sorted. Don't try and push them off or make them out to be stupid or something. Just be honest with them and do what you can for them. And if they ask you to do something for them, move heaven and earth to do that for them. And they won't go anywhere else. They'll keep coming back to you.
How you deal with a mistake and what you make of it. And I recall that there's a lot of entrepreneurs say things like, I made the mistake, but it didn't put me off, or I learned from it, or I bounced back. And it looks as if some people can set aside the mistake and not say, because I made this mistake, I'm a failure. They're saying, because I made the mistake, I've now got to do something different. So I think it's the attitude of mind about how you deal with the mistake is at least as important as working very hard to try and think out and anticipate mistakes, which obviously is a good skill if you can do it.
We probably listened to 2 or 3 people that wanted a specific bicycle, and these guys were out of date, if you like. And they wanted us not to do a mountain bike, which was something that was hot and selling, but to do a 3-speed sit up and beg traditional bike. And if you like, we said, right, it felt as though we'd had a ton of enquiries for it, and we hadn't. John had one, I'd had one. Boy, the way to go is 3-speed bikes, something cheaper, not what we're doing, and it was completely broke with the theme of what we were doing. We brought a container full of ladies and gents 3-speed bikes in that looked like something out of the Ark, and boy did we struggle to sell them. We had an order for these 3 guys that might have been 40 bikes, but what about the other 410? And that for us, that lingered with us for such a long time, and I realised the mistake then was actually not getting the facts. If 100 customers had said 3-speed bikes please, that would have been the way to go, but not 3 out of 100.
The most common mistake is wishful market research.
So you want to believe it's going to work?
Everybody does. And it's our job to say, fine, you're asking some of the right questions, but be honest with yourself. Are you asking the people? Ask your mum and dad, ask your sisters, ask your friends, ask your brothers. They'll all say, yeah, we'll buy from you, until you start in business. And then they say, yes, well, but... it's called the yes, well, but syndrome.
I visited every other open farm, tea room, ice cream producer that I could find that was willing to talk to me, and most of them were. And I'm glad I did all my research before I started the business. I think that I learned a lot by their mistakes. Most people are very honest and say, well, if I'd have known about that oven, I wouldn't have bought that one, or if I'd known about this machinery, you know, it's got a good side but a bad side. And that's the important thing. They're telling you their problems, the things they got wrong, but they're still in existence and they're still surviving. So it gives you the confidence to go out and try anyway, and if you get it wrong occasionally, so what? You can survive. And make a few mistakes, and I've learned not to look upon anything as a mistake, but as a lesson.
Advice is always easy to come by. The problem is deciding what's valuable and what's not. Perhaps the best source of useful tips is from business people themselves. They've been there, done it, and sold the t-shirt.
The first thing is to find a market. We see loads of people that set up in businesses thinking they've got a good idea without really looking at their market. You've got to know what your market is before you start your business. It's no good coming out with a product and then hoping people are going to buy it. That's one of the things. Another thing, major important thing, is to make sure you've got your capital right and that you're not underfinanced. That can lead you into all sorts of problems further down the line. And of course, any decisions you make, you've got to live with. Obviously, there is an element of risk in starting a business, and you've got to be prepared to take that risk on board right from the outset, and you've got to be prepared to lose it all if it goes all wrong.
Go with something that's already a success in perhaps another market, or the US market is very, very close to our taste. We normally get what's a rage there. So that's really where I'd be more focused next time. And if somebody's got a good idea, if it's working well in another market, there's a good chance it's going to work well in this market as well. Yeah. But still do some market research at the same time before you start bringing it in hundreds and thousands.
John?
I mean, anybody starting a small business, the advice I'd give them is be prepared to reap the rewards later. You're not going to get immediate benefits, and just every penny you've got, put it into the business, because if you start the business, you've got to believe in it 100%. Everything you've got, stick it into the business, and don't spend it unless you have to, because you'll need that money sooner or later.
I think the first piece of advice we would give you is to think about it very carefully, because we do get a lot of people who want to go self-employed for various reasons, the main three being they've always wanted to be their own boss, or they may perhaps be made redundant, or they get involved in some sort of family business are the main three reasons for it. What we would first of all try and explain to you is the commitment that you're going to have to make, both on your time and perhaps your finances as well, even perhaps bringing in the house that you live in. So it is a big step for people to take, and the commitment is huge.
And not suitable for everybody, presumably.
And obviously not suitable for everybody.
I think it's being a stayer, being a loner as well, and not worrying. Accessing all the ports of information is very important, but also thinking very rigidly about the business. A lot of sacrifices with family, foregoing friends and leisure time, for example. But the idea of running your own business with a Jag in the drive, holidays in the Bahamas, those have to be set aside. Becoming an overnight millionaire as well have to be set aside. It's a long haul, but it's very satisfying. You are your own boss, and to be successful you have to be single-minded, and obviously you have to be a very good business person with acumen. One of the most successful types of businesses are those people who enter the business in which they're interested in, whether it was a hobby or something they're fascinated about. So when the times get rough, because of their keen interest in the sector or in what they're making, it just pulls them through.
I suppose at the end of the day, you have to care about it enough that whatever else happens, even although you can dredge up enough enthusiasm, because if you haven't got the enthusiasm, not all the time, but say I read someone once who said, if I felt consecutively on 21 days that this wasn't worth me doing, I'd have to get out. Because you just can't do it, because you've got to give of yourself when you're running your own business, in a way that in some ways I think if you've got a different type of job within a bigger organisation, you don't. But basically, you or one or two key people will drive that business, and if you're not driving it, it will very quickly, the quality will go down, the work will change.
I think that anyone going into business should consider that the amount of hours they're going to have to put in to make it work. You could end up working 7 days a week for periods of time, and really long hours. I mean, when we first started, we were working till sort of 10, 11 at night, and we have worked on occasion all day and all throughout the night to get the work done, and that used to happen quite a lot. I'm glad to say by taking on staff, we've managed to cut that down. But if the need's there, we'll still do it, and we'll do it again, you know.
So what's your recipe for success then?
Hard work.
Other than the millionaire shortcake?
Hard work, a good management team, and financial supporters. But no substitute for hard work. Eye on the ball. No, hackneyed phrases I know, but it's true. But I can't overemphasise the need to have a good team.
I would say to other small business leaders and directors of those business, I would say energy, enthusiasm, getting your team on board with you. So getting them involved, ensuring they know where you're going. So you've got to really have a mission, objectives, a strategy, and you've got to share them with your team. It's absolutely critical, that is, and getting a team spirit, basically.
You must have at least one person in the business who is convinced that's the thing they want to succeed over and above everything else. So you must have a motivated, committed person. When you get larger, you should have a committed team that between them have got the skills of running a slightly larger business, and that would include things like the task, the technology, the production, the sales, the marketing, and the way in which it all fits together, which is management and leadership. So I'd kick off with those things, and at a personal level you need certain types of intellectual and motivational components. And the intellectual components, I don't mean having lots and lots of degrees, I mean having flexibility to respond to change, being able to communicate, being able to negotiate, being able to deal with people, and having a certain amount of determination and self-belief. And I suppose the other thing is that if you do wake up in the middle of the night because you're worrying about your business, it might be helpful to realise that just about everyone else did as well.
All the hell that you are about to go through, everybody's been through it before. There is no thing that you will go through that somebody else hasn't gone through. And if you can find a person that's gone through it, ask them first.
I didn't know anything about ice cream production. I had a lot to learn. I had a lot of people to talk to. And everybody was more than willing to share their knowledge, as long as I went along pleading complete ignorance and begging for help. I got it.
What would you say to anybody thinking about going into a diversification of their farm?
I think the first advice to anybody who's thinking of diversifying on a farm is, if they're doing it simply because they haven't got enough money, don't. Look at your farm and check that your farm is running as efficiently as it can, that you're making the most of it, that you have done all the exercises you should be doing on a farm. Then, when you're sure your farm is as profitable as you can get it, then put your attention to something else. Second thing, don't do it if you don't like people. Please don't do it if you don't like people. And check your husband likes people, because if you're going to do bed and breakfast, and the husband thinks it might be a good way of getting a bit of extra, what used to be egg money or hen money, but is now bed and breakfast money in. He might like the idea of the extra cash in, but he hasn't perhaps stopped to think that he may have to wait for his breakfast while you look after the guests, that somebody might park their car in his spot in the yard. It has been known to ruin a lot of marriages.
It's very important to know what you're doing. I'm lucky because I've had experience. I've also worked for other small businesses. I've seen the mistakes that they've made. It's important for your staff to be able to trust you. If they've got a problem, to be able to talk to you about it. You have to respect them, you've got to respect yourself, and also the suppliers. If you don't pay bills, the suppliers will not supply. If you pay promptly, if you order promptly, if you're friendly, you get customers, you get suppliers.
I think it's important that they understand exactly what they're taking on. They shouldn't pretend that it's just another job. It's much more than that. It's a real challenge, and it will demand enormous commitment from themselves, from their families also. It's very important they understand that. I think having made that commitment, it's important that they then pick all the brains available, do all the research, but at the end of the day, make their own decisions.
Don't listen to other people. If you've got an idea and you think it's going to work, get out there and do it. You may fail, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I was told when I started in business that 4 out of 5 small businesses failed within the first year. And with that sort of advice, what are you going to do? You're just going to curl up into a wee ball and go away and do something else. And I'll prove them wrong. So 12, 13 years later, we're still here. We're still doing it.
Even the best-run businesses need impartial advice and professional help from time to time. And there are plenty of organisations around which can help, often free of charge. But you shouldn't leave it until you have a crisis before you find out what's on offer. What's your advice then to any business person starting up who doesn't want to fail within the first 3 years?
I think first of all, I would encourage them to come through Business Link, obviously. But secondly, he must get professional advice, get the best advice he possibly can, not perhaps just from his nearest and dearest, but to go to the accountants and solicitors or to Business Link or enterprise agencies, professional people who have been there, done it before, and are dealing with small startup businesses all the time. Get as much advice as you possibly can before you start.
So if I decide to go ahead and set up as a plumber and I come to you for advice and help, how much of it am I going to have to pay for?
Oh, the majority of it is actually free. Initially, certainly we can give information through the enterprise agencies, would be totally free. A couple of hours consultation, seminars and workshops are very heavily subsidised. They might cost you £10, I think, something of that nature. We have a whole range of accountants and solicitors who are prepared to give time free of charge to small startup businesses. information off the information helpline desk here is all free of charge. If you then, as you grow and develop, want to have further information on business support, then the first visits of those are also free. If you then go on and want consultation, then that is subsidised by the DTI up to 50%. So it's very good value for money.
The FSB, the Federation of Small Businesses, what is it?
It's a lobby group for small businesses. It's like the trade union for Britain's 4 million self-employed people. It represents them at the highest level, Brussels, Westminster, and Whitehall, where a lot of civil servants make the keen decisions today. But also it provides support service to the members, free legal advice 24 hours a day. And if things end up in court, and provided we know about it, then we may foot the bill for the legal and professional fees.
The actual help I'm getting now from the Training Enterprise Councils and the Business Link with their business advisors, I think it's fantastic. Really, when you're running a small business, you do need someone from the outside to just come in, sit down, have a cup of coffee with, and just talk through your problems. And really, these advisors, they can route you in different directions to really help you. Like just today, we've had some advisors actually training advisors looking at NVQs in marketing, and one of my girls is over the moon, getting qualifications, and also enjoying what she's doing in a job, and it's super what can be done.
There's also increasingly Citizens Advice Bureau. They're beginning to help the self-employed, because last year 250,000 of them were on income support. So there's a lot of help there, as well as from the local town hall. Every town hall should have an economic development unit, and a lot of people forget to go there.
If you'd like advice about running your business, starting up a business, or problems you're having with your business, then perhaps the best place to start would be your business links in England, your business shops in Scotland, or Business Connect in Wales. The national number 0345 567 765 will put you directly in contact with your nearest branch. Your bank manager, your lawyer, or your accountant are also a very good source of advice, and you could speak to other businesses who are in the same trade as yourself, or to your trade association.
Apart from becoming a mother, proudest moment, I think, is when I stood before the Queen to accept the MBE on behalf of my father and of all my staff at Flowcrete. There was a great honour, that was.
As an achievement, I felt that happened for us last year when the Taiwanese factory that we've used couldn't make the orders that we were placing with them, and to actually outstrip the Taiwanese in terms of orders against what they can make. And I laughed until I nearly cried about that, in that we could beat them at their own game, because boy, you throw an order at these guys and it just comes from somewhere. They're so hard working, they're so clockwork orientated, and they actually faxed back to say we've reached capacity, we can't make any more of the stuff, and it's going to be delayed because of it. And although it was a bit of a negative point, boy, it was an achievement to surpass in orders what they could actually physically make in a factory.
One of my proudest moments is that I employed somebody here many years ago, and then when the thing grew that it needed a separate kitchen and a bakery, I put her in charge of creating the bakery. She then developed enough skills that she wanted to go off and run her own business, which she did. She left me, and I felt very bad about it at the time, let her down, and she wants to leave. But she went off and got a whole lot more of skills, and now she's come back and she's renting the bakery and paying me a rent, and it's her business. And I feel proud that I've helped somebody do that. Yeah, for me, that's good.
The first time I was able to buy a new car was certainly one of them. I love my car. That was one of the things.
How long was that into the business?
Oh, well, that last car I bought, that was 2 years ago. And that was the ultimate dream that I had. I've always, from when I was a small boy, I've always wanted a car like that, and I managed to get it.
That's it from this series of the Small Business Programme. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.
And now in programme 20 of 20 Steps to Better Management, the drama, Know Yourself, the day of the launch, and Redware gets its new MD.
Right, have I got all your bets then?
What are today's odds?
How's Mike looking?
Well, I can give you very good odds on Mike, 5 to 1. He's really fallen from grace, but if you want to risk your money...
Well, who's favourite now?
Harry Howe, 2 to 1. He's come from nowhere to lead the race.
Bob, where'd you get your information from?
Oh, just studying the form. Oh, Susan, are you going to change your mind and place a side bet?
No, I'm quite happy with the bet I made weeks ago. 10 to 1 on Jenny.
Well, those are good odds.
I think Mike's still in with a chance. I don't like that Harry Howe. He's such a creep.
We'll all know soon. John's on his way back from Mexico, and apparently he's going to appoint the new MD after tomorrow's launch. I've been asked to arrange a post-launch party here at the office. John could well announce the winner then.
Oh, never mind the sweepstake. I'm more interested in Softex's share price. The group results are announced tomorrow, and if the launch isn't a success, the share price is going to drop like a stone.
Yeah, it would be ironic if one of them gets the MD's job just as we go out of business. Have you switched it on? What is this figure here, Joe?
Well, these are these month's spending figures.
Matt,
Accounts-
Are we spending?
Matt, can I have a word?
What is it, Harry? I got a lot on my plate. Tomorrow's the announcement.
You need to hear this.
Joe, can you give me 5 minutes? What's so urgent?
Well, I couldn't believe it myself, but sadly, it is true. A poor, misguided man.
What are you talking about?
It's Mike Fox at Redware. He's obviously been under a great deal of strain. I just hope my taking over hasn't caused him to do this.
What's he done?
He's gone to HTP to try and do some kind of joint venture deal with Overwood.
He's done what?
I feel partly responsible. It must be some kind of twisted professional jealousy that drove him.
Don't blame yourself, Harry. I knew I couldn't trust Mike Fox when I caught him filling his expenses.
He's obviously been losing it for some time.
Damn it. Damn. I'll fire him. What harm can he do?
None. For him to do a deal with HTP, he must have the majority vote of the board. Now, Lee might be misguided enough to support him, but Jenny is on my side.
Good. Last thing we need at this stage is a loose cannon. There's already too much at stake. Thanks for letting me know. I'll deal with Mike. You concentrate on the launch.
You can rely on me, boss.
Jackie? Yeah, it's Mike. I'm in the training room. Make sure that I'm not disturbed. I'll be going out later. No, for the rest of the day. Yeah, thanks.
I was a supermarket manager for 15 years. I worked in the discount end of the supermarket business, and I worked very hard in that time. And we found ourselves working a lot longer and a lot harder to cover the loss of staff and the increased productivity that the company expected from us. And at the end of my career within the supermarket industry, I was working 80, even 90 hours a week and never seeing the family during that time. I'd come home at night time and about 10:30 at night and fall asleep on the sofa.
When he was working at the supermarket, we never saw him. The only days we did see him was on his days off. But he didn't want to know, he didn't want to do anything. Of course, I wanted to get out or do something. He wasn't interested, he'd lie on the settee all day, and then of course we'd row, we'd have arguments all the time.
The problem I didn't realise was that because of the amount of hours I were working, it sort of affected my judgment, and I couldn't prioritise correctly as to what was important to my life. And it was until one last argument, when the bags were packed virtually, that I came to the realisation that this was it, your family was going to go unless you do something. So I took a good long look at my life and decided to get myself down to the job centre. I saw this job for caretaker in a local school, and it was for 39 hours a week. And I thought, is that for me really? It seems a bit of a lowly job. But as I started to look into it, it became clearer that there was other sides to it. I could, still balance my family budget. Everything seemed to be a plus on it, and that's what swayed me really. And I took the job, and it was wonderful because it gave me time. It gave me so much time to do things. The best thing about this job is that I can spend time with my wife, and we can talk, one-to-one for a long time. With the children, I'm there as a father. I can offer them support in their education. I can offer them a lot more of me. I've got so much spare time now that I feel that I need to develop my own interests outside work. I'm heavily involved in a hospital radio station which is called Fab Gold in Wythenshawe. I can help out in the school. I'm actively involved with the football team. I've just had a 2-week family holiday, which was fabulous, because I spent 2 weeks with my family.
So what we got, Joe?
These are the figures from accounts I was trying to show you earlier.
John, I wasn't expecting you.
Oh, I just flew in from the Windy City. Morning.
Good.
Yeah, I couldn't miss tomorrow's launch. How are things going?
Oh, terrible. All hell's broken loose. I can't believe what your team have done.
What do you mean?
Well, apparently, and without consulting me, Mike is trying to do a deal with HTP.
HTP?
Yeah. Lee's involved as well. They've virtually given HTP our new product on a plate. Harry's still loyal. Jenny, I'm not too sure about.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
Harry just told me.
No, there's got to be more to it than this.
What are you going to do about this? You got to fire Mike. He's the ringleader in all this.
Now, hold on a minute. I need time to find out the whole story.
Time is what we don't have. The Softex results come out tomorrow, and if the launch bombs... What's the news from Mexico?
Well, that's good. We did an intensive rethink, a whole restructuring. The team had kind of drifted, but we're back on course now. I'm confident they can be back in profit by the half year.
That'll be too late. We need a result tomorrow, John.
Oh.
Unless this overload launch can prove to the analysts that we got a winner, our share price will fall off a cliff.
It's a lot of pressure to put on the launch of a single product.
Well, what do you care? Your money's not riding on this.
I've invested more in Redware than you know. Let me talk to Jenny. I'll find out what's been going on.
You got a day to sort it out, John, or else I fire Mike Lee and Jenny. I'll make Harry the new MD of Redware. Well, that's if there's a company for him to run after tomorrow.
Well, just let me talk, okay?
The quiet town of Topsham on the River Exe in Devon is just the kind of place you might go if you were in search of a balanced life. But the demands made upon local doctors here are as heavy as they are in any other part of the country.
Chairs if you're going, please. Good morning. Morning to you, Joe. Hi. I'm fine, thanks. Nice to meet you, Matt. Come right through it.
Rob Turner is a general practitioner who's decided to balance his life by working part-time.
Take a seat, Joe.
But this still includes a night and a weekend of on-call duties.
Now, it's about a week, isn't it, since I saw you last, I think. I think part-time working is a little bit of a misnomer, and perhaps it's slightly false to include the on-call, but I do, because it is time that is tied up in medicine, and if you include that, it's about 40 hours a week. So that is part-time for a GP. Most GPs work at least 80 hours a week, some quite a lot more. See the nurse in about 10 days before that, though. Lovely. Okay. We're so often advising people to reduce their work hours and reduce the stress in their working life. And what are we doing? You know, we're just not doing that.
But he doesn't just take it easy when he's not working as a doctor. Dr. Rob Turner spends the other 2 days a week up a tree.
I've always enjoyed the outdoors, I've always enjoyed being active, and I didn't feel I had time for that when I was a full-time GP. I had a patient who was a tree surgeon, and I offered to help him when I was on holiday, and he took me on. He taught me quite a lot, and I loved every minute of it. And that's how it all began, really. I then went part-time and took up tree surgery in the other half, and never looked back. Tree surgery is both a leisure pursuit and work for me. I really enjoy it. I feel at the end of the day I've achieved something, and I like to think that the environment's a little bit better for what I'm doing.
Tree surgery isn't something you undertake alone. Rob is accompanied in his work by tree surgeon's mate Stuart O'Higgins.
Very safe in an oak tree because the branches are very strong. You can stand on branches that are not much more than an inch thick. So there's a great sort of feeling of history and heritage about an oak tree. I take great care about not destroying trees, but about trying to preserve them and make them more aesthetic.
I think it's a great opportunity to illustrate to people what they can do with their lives. If we present a healthy image in both work and leisure, then I think people can learn from that, and I think that would benefit them in that respect, and it would also benefit them because we would be healthier as people, and I think we'd be able to offer a lot more empathy and sympathy. I really enjoy the medicine that I do, but the other aspect of my life is as important, and I think it keeps me healthy and makes me a better doctor.
John, what are you doing back here? We weren't expecting you till tomorrow.
I've just been talking to Matt about this HTP deal. Now, what the hell's going on here?
You know, when you left, you said it was up to us to make the decisions.
Right.
Well, that's what we've done.
Yeah, what exactly?
The new product, AS400, or Overlord, as Harry insists on calling it, is going to bomb. There's a major flaw in the software. It doesn't work on a palm-top computer.
Why are you going ahead with a launch?
It's Harry's decision. He doesn't care about the product or the company. He's on an ego trip, and Matt seems to be backing him all the way.
And you think your scheme's better?
I just know that I trust Mike and Lee more than I'll ever trust Harry or Matt.
Jenny, I don't know who's right or wrong in this. But listen, you still have a chance to save yourself. Now, Matt doesn't know that you're involved in Mike's plans. Okay? You still have time to distance yourself from Mike. You're taking a hell of a risk here. You could lose everything.
Do you think I don't know that? And what do you care anyway? If Redware goes belly up, you'll find some other company to put through your 20 steps. It's just a game to you, isn't it? And you shouldn't have gone to Mexico when we needed you here.
I had to go, you know that, and I do care. Look, I invested heavily in Softex stock before I left because I believed that Redware was going to be a success. It still could be a success. Even if this new product fails, it's going to take a little longer, that's all.
But John, if we fail, we lose everything. There won't be a Redware after tomorrow. Softex bought the company because you saw a spark of something. We've lost them a small fortune over the past 5 months.
But look at what you've achieved here. Think of the progress you've made as a team.
Then believe in Mike. If I've learned one thing from this whole course, it's that you've got to believe in yourself and in your team. I just know that what Mike is doing is right. Won't you support us?
Matt thinks that Mike should go. Now, if he knows you're involved too, he's going to ask me to fire you as well.
Doesn't matter. I resign anyway.
What do you mean?
If Mike goes, I go.
You're not serious.
Yes. And I know that Lee feels the same.
All right, Jenny, listen. I've got Matt to agree not to do anything until after the launch. Now, that is all the help that I can give you, right? It's up to you guys now. God, I hope you know what you're doing.
Trust us, John. Trust us.
Have you heard anything yet?
No. They're on the way back from the venue. We won't know how the launch went until the analysts file their reports. Well, that won't be for another hour at least.
Another hour? I don't know if I can handle the suspense. I couldn't sleep a wink last night. Where is everyone? I haven't seen Mike, Jenny, or Lee since yesterday.
They're probably all at the product launch, waiting to see who gets the MD's job. Bob, who's the favourite today?
Forget the sweepstake. Following this morning's launch, I wouldn't bet on any of us keeping our jobs.
Well, how do you mean?
It was terrible. The worst experience of my life.
What happened?
Absolutely nothing. Overlord went down like a lead balloon.
We gave it all the razzmatazz. We had dry ice and lasers. Absolutely no expense spared. I've never seen a launch like it. And Harry tried his best. He dominated the show.
But at the end, they just sat there. They didn't even clap.
And they laughed when Harry revealed the advertising.
Oh, you're kidding.
What did Mike and Lee say?
They weren't there.
Two of the most important members of the team, and they weren't at the product launch? What's going on?
Matt was furious. He stormed out with John.
I rather think this party's going to turn into a wake.
What's happened to the share price?
Down 10 points.
This is a nightmare.
Still falling?
What do you think after that launch?
Yeah, I got to admit it wasn't very convincing.
Convincing? Overlord made a force be with you? What made Harry buy into that? If his agency thinks I'm going to pay for that...
Yeah, I still believe that AS400 could be a good product. It's the marketing that's off beam.
Tell that to the analysts, John. Do you know, I actually saw analysts with pity in their eyes. Can you imagine? Never before have I seen... Look, everyone's unloading our stock. We're down another...
Did Harry warn you there was a problem with compatibility here?
Somehow he neglected to mention that fact. Like he lied to me about the research and the overspend on the launch budget. Look, we're down another 2 points. My share options are going to be worthless.
Come on, we better talk to the staff. Show some leadership here.
I'll show them leadership. I'll fire the lot of them.
Let's face it, Lee, you have screwed up big time. At least I can do my job. That launch was pathetic. This is entirely your fault, Lee. The best marketing in the world could not save such a dog of a product. I'm telling you, it would have been kinder to strangle it at birth. I've been telling you for the past 3 weeks that Overlord was the wrong positioning.
We're down another 5 points.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to carry the can for this. It is you, Mike, and Jenny that are going to take the rap.
Hey, come on. This isn't a playground. Hey. Okay, come on. As you have probably all gathered, the launch this morning was not a great success. That coupled with the group's results means that there is a run on our share price.
What's that got to do with us?
Well, if the shares fall below a certain figure, the banks panic and call in our loans.
But Softex is a large company.
Technically, we will be insolvent. Softex will be bust.
Redware and the rest of the group will go into receivership. I'm sorry, we'll salvage what jumps we can, but I can promise you nothing. I think the shareholders will lose everything.
Well, it was nice knowing you all.
So, this is it. The end of the company.
Hang on. It stopped falling.
What?
It stopped falling. The share price is starting to rally. It's 3 points up. 4.
What's going on?
The launch was a success after all.
But I was there with the analysts. It was a disaster.
Hang on. There's some news coming down the lines. There's been an announcement from HTP about something called Juggler. What the hell is that all about?
It might have something to do with this.
What is that?
It's the heads of agreement for a joint venture between HTP and Redware, in which we combine our product with theirs to produce a new software package called Juggler.
You have given away our product to the competition. Are you crazy? It's still going up like a rocket. According to the stock exchange, industry analysts are calling it the software deal of the decade.
You guys have done a 40-60 split on the royalties?
And we get the 60.
And HTP gets to do all the marketing on the new product?
They're calling it the most significant software deal since Bill Gates licensed MS-DOS to IBM.
What's the price saying now?
It's gone through the 300 mark.
Oh, yes!
Does that mean we can open the champagne now?
Congratulations, man. How's it feel being a millionaire?
You should know, John.
Mud in your eye. Well, you know, the money is not as important as the people.
I'm glad you feel that way. Isn't it time that you gave up your role as flying company doctor? Why don't you stick around as chairman of Redware? They could use your advice.
Is that a formula?
Yeah.
Well, I might just take you up on that sometime.
Congratulations, John. I knew that Redware would pull through.
Excuse me, I have some unfinished business to do.
Sure.
What unfinished business?
Oh, I should imagine he's telling the directors which one of them is going to be the new MD. I wouldn't be in such a hurry. He's only going to be talking to permanent directors of the company.
Pardon me, I have, pardon me.
This is it.
Okay.
Is it too late to put a bet on Mike?
Get lost.
Now, I have an announcement to make. We have, among ourselves, decided who will be Redware's new MD. Mike, do you mind?
Well done, Mike. I always knew you were the man for the job.
They say that the greatest wisdom is the ability to know yourself. Well, over the past weeks, I've learned quite a lot about Mike Fox. I've learned that no manager is an island, that the only way to achieve anything really worthwhile is to play as a member of a team. Well, a member of our team has stuck true to that principle over the last 20 weeks. One person who, when given the chance to save themselves, chose instead to support the rest of us, even if it meant losing her job. I don't know if, had I been in her position, that I would have done the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the new managing director of Redware, Jenny Carroll.
Never mind, Bob.
You've cleaned me out. It's going to take me months to pay it back.
That's all right. You can do it in installments.
Cheers.
What are you doing for dinner tonight?
In Business and Work next week, we'll be showing a two-part repeat programme from Business Matters entitled Giving Business, which looks at the increasing professionalism of the UK charity sector, along with two repeat programmes, one from the Open University about learning new skills, and the other from the Inland Revenue about the new self-assessment tax return. But finally this morning, a short film from the BBC's Community Programme Unit. Perry Lee is about to sit his finals. How does he get on?
That's all the students queuing up outside the town hall. There's about half an hour to go before the start of the exam. It's amazing. There's still people now furiously trying to cram in the last 20 minutes. I don't subscribe to that particular view, because if you don't know it now, you're not really ever going to know it. Louise, you've got a terrible white face, girl. Are you nervous? What about you, girl? Have you done enough to pass? Oh, if you don't know it now, you're never going to learn it in 15 minutes. Lots of last-minute cigarettes and nervous laughter. Pretty magnificent place to come and do your exam, isn't it? Good luck, Roz. Good luck. This is it then. 5 minutes, and then another hour and a half, and it'll all be over.
I think once you're actually airborne, there's a tremendous sense of calm and very little noise apart from the air rushing past your ears. And it's just a total sense of freedom, you know, you're not in contact with anything at all. I mean, I can remember when I was 9 or 10, always have a fascination with watching birds fly. And that sort of progressed into later life, and paragliding's a sport that actually started about 7 or 8 years ago. And obviously that's made flying accessible to anyone that wants to try it. I think what we're trying to do as much as possible is to ensure that people with disabilities are integrated into the sport at base level, so that they're not treated as special cases. I think the Learning Zone's a marvellous idea. It gives us access to information that we can use very successfully in our disability awareness weekends. And I think that if they came up with more programmes related to our particular issues in the future, I'd be very, very willing to use it. The Learning Zone is extremely easy to use. The advantage of being able to record it is that you can actually use it at a time when you know you're going to be focused on what you're watching. I mean, basically, as long as you know what time the programme's on, all you've got to do is set your video recorder and you can view it at any time.
Michael Ian Sandiford. Stephen Joseph Leonard.
Congratulations, you made it. Yeah, well done. I knew it was something wrong. This is one of the perks of the job.
In 1996, we met the students of Bristol University Vet School. For 6 weeks, we followed them through the trials of the final year. First, we met Steve Leonard, who had a lot to live up to.
I come from a family of 4 brothers. All of us are veterinary trained. I did actually want to be a priest at one point, and then I wanted to be a priest vet and pray for dead animals. and then I decided to be a vet.
From Norway, we met Trude Mostu, the trainee vet who used to do something quite different.
These photographs, they were taken 2 years ago it was, when I was working in the mountains in Norway as a milkmaid. Oh, I'm doing it again.
Don't worry about it, please. I'll do the next one. The only thing I will say is that your injection technique needs improving.
Why?
Do you think so? So the only thing I can say is to go and have a practice.
Mike learned that being a vet wasn't all high-tech wizardry.
Okay. Have you ever clipped them before?
No.
Right, I'll go and get some clippers. All right. Nice and gentle. Right, okay, that works a lot better.
There's so much you just don't know, and it's even simple things like that, so it's good to get under your belt kind of thing, so I can do that again now, I think.
And Julie had a bit of trouble with her tutor.
Okay.
I'm trying to sort of test the hoop to see if I can find an area of pain. Just laughing at me over my sad attempts.
I want to get out there, I want to have cases of my own, I want to be able to think it through for myself and not have somebody else saying, well, I'm not too sure about that.
Learning to be sensitive is all part of being a vet, as Fiona explained.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a vet showing emotion and being upset, and it means that you do care about the client and the animal.
On vet school, the real stars were the animals. Remember Iggy the iguana?
Oh, he's really friendly, isn't he?
He is, yeah, he's my mate.
He's very stubborn. He's just cantankerous old git at times, and I think that's probably got him through it.
Gentle Heidi.
Well, the first thing I saw were all those cards, and I thought, oh my goodness, no, they obviously really think a lot about her. And so we really got to try hard for her, sort of thing.
And Teddy, the brave ginger Tom.
He came back from the brink. He's a remarkable cat, so it's possible that he's actually going to do it again. And that's what we all hope.
They coped with the animals. How would they cope with the owners?
You have to put your trust in the people that are looking after him, you know, the vet students, the vets, everybody. And we've all done our bit, you know, in helping him through it. And I'm just so pleased with the outcome, and we're actually here to bring him home at last, you know.
If they said that £1,000 will put that dog to that, I'll go round with a hat.
The teachers also felt the weight of responsibility as the last line of preparation.
I think really their success as a vet is decided before they even get to veterinary school. I think it's so much a function of their intellect, their natural enthusiasm, their personality. Not only do we satisfy ourselves that they are good enough to do it, but are they good enough to be turned loose on the British public? We've got to decide that.
And if they make a mistake, then I tell them to learn from it, not to make it again, because I shan't be there to help them.
Time off was a chance for the students to wind down.
It's nice though, it's Friday. I'm not on call tomorrow.
As you notice, we keep a very hygienic kitchen. What we've been taught all about food poisoning and everything on the first term of the video.
And there were always the parties to look forward to.
There's quite a few kind of people sober at this level of the night, which usually they're a bit more under the table-y by now.
There's no work at top last year, it was absolutely brilliant.
I had a really good year.
But finals were just around the corner.
God, I hate typing.
There is just so much to learn in such a short time that it's a nightmare.
The students these days are really quite abnormally nervous about exams. And I don't think there's any need for that, because the final examination is probably the easiest examination they'll take.
I'm extremely cocky, and if my elder 2 brothers have passed, then I'm going to.
I have to prepare things much more than everyone else because I can't waffle in English.
But what of the future and prospects of work?
Oh, listen to this one. This is the other one that didn't have a phone number, unfortunately. Saab 900 and Lakeside Bungalow await successful applicant.
That sounds right. Lakeside Bungalow sounds right.
I know.
For Alison, a trip to Somerset.
This is a strong possibility that I would say yes to this job if I'm offered it.
As you know, we'd very much like you to join the team here.
Mike. Yeah, that's right.
Hello, Dick.
Oh, it's good to meet you. Yeah.
I hear you're going out to Botswana?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, so basically I know nothing at all about ostriches, so I thought just anything, hints and tips you could give me.
Ostriches break so many rules.
Yeah,
in basic anatomy and everything.
You got it, well done, you're there.
Going to Botswana and just trying to help out, that seems, no, I'm not worried about Botswana, I'm worried about coming back.
Well done.
Oh, congratulations.
All right. Well done.
Thanks a lot. How are you doing? Well done.
Well done. What, you going to celebrate?
Yeah.
Now for the fledgling vets, it's welcome to the real world. And time to experience some of the same old problems.
This is my first toad. Maybe I should kiss it and turn into a prince.
And unfortunately, he was lost under an anaesthetic, and obviously the owners were quite upset. But it was quite a major procedure for a very small and young rabbit to go under. So
I don't know if my husband mentioned it, but she has been running around the garden with a small runt pig. We did wonder if she just got a little bit of rough with the pig, or the pig had got a bit rough with her, I should say, whether the pig had perhaps bitten her or something.
I'll be the owner.
Okay.
You're quite sure you're ready to qualify, Julie? That's what they'll say. So just look confident, do it. You need a torch.
For Julie, it's a case of deja vu.
The tongue stops your hand getting ruined, okay? Yeah. If you let go of the tongue, you'll end up with a load of munchies on the end of your fingers.
He made me feel like a student again, really. Because he was making out that it was the first time I'd ever rasped a horse's teeth, and I have done it a few times.
I think for the first 2 years after you qualify, you are never going to be much good.
Meanwhile, in Botswana, Mike is chasing tails.
It's the male one, yeah? The male one with the funny ears. I've just loved it since I've been here. I love the people are so friendly. You just go into the local bars here and everyone comes up and shakes your hand and says hello, so that's really, really nice.
For Fiona, it's not only a new career that's a reason to be cheerful.
Went on the year holiday. I was only supposed to stay a week, and I extended it to 2 weeks because it was a brilliant holiday. And I met Nick whilst I was out there. It was a bit unexpected meeting Nick. Very unexpected. It's one of those things, I guess.
But for Steve, voted one of Britain's most eligible bachelors, commitment's not on the agenda.
it's about bang on, I think. A week and a half to 2 weeks is the natural length of a relationship, I think. Any more than there's something seriously wrong.
He's got a lot of female fans out there. And they probably had
female fans come out. Do you not fancy him?
Yeah, do we not?
In the new series, we meet two more graduates from Bristol, Emma and Joe, who have been together as a couple for a year. Whilst they face the same pressures at work...
I've never experienced an animal crash on me before. I didn't really know what to do, just sort of went into automatic pilot, I think.
They face very differing pressures away from it.
I think it annoys her sometimes the way I am stingy and whine on about not having any money when, you know, I'm in a much better position than her.
Joe goes to pick up his Lotus, and I can't help thinking, well, that's my overdraft and my visa bill combined there.
We'll be following the fortunes of the young vets in the new series Vets in Practice, which over the next 5 weeks, every Tuesday and Friday night, will show the highs and lows of a job that takes years to qualify for. And then doesn't get any easier.
Fantastic, really, yeah. I've got a car and a house and I'm doing the job I've always wanted.